He crash-landed on a planet ruled entirely by women. He thought they'd help him fix his ship. Instead, they put him on a schedule to repopulate their species. Now, every day, a different alien warrior shows up at his door. He just wants to survive. But they all want something else from him. Welcome to Lytheria, where being the last man in a galaxy is the worst kind of blessing. The stars weren't supposed to look that close. 1 second, Leo Grant had been rerouting a power conduit on the outer hull of his solo cargo ship. The next, his console flashed red with critical system failure. Then came the alarms. Then the tearing sound. Then silence, except for his own breath caught between disbelief and vacuum. He blacked out somewhere between the upper atmosphere of a green and gold world and the white-hot chaos of re-entry. When he woke up, he was lying on something soft, not the metal floor of his ship, but a bed made of woven plant fibers, warm and strange. The sky above him shimmered violet through the slats of a carved ceiling. Alien birds called in the distance. Everything smelled of crushed leaves and ozone. And then he saw them. 6 figures, tall, armored, each holding a weapon he couldn't name. They were women, clearly women, but unlike any Leo had ever seen. Skin tones ranged from deep cerulean to pearl white, eyes glowed with strange light, and their movements were precise, deliberate, trained. Leo sat up slowly, holding his ribs. "Hi," he said, trying for a smile. "I come in peace." "Really?" One of the armored women stepped forward. Her voice was low, firm, and musical, as if she were speaking through some internal resonance. "You will not be harmed," she said. "You are the anomaly." The male. Leo blinked. "I what?" Another woman approached, this one holding a thin glowing tablet. Her eyes scanned him like a machine. "Human. Earth origin. Male. Fertile." That last word made him sit straighter. "Wait, fertile? What the hell kind of scan is that?" They exchanged looks. Silent communication. Soldiers always knew how to speak without speaking. Within an hour, he was brought to a massive hall, columns etched with constellations, tapestries depicting fierce battles, and a throne flanked by guards in obsidian armor. There, seated on a dais of crystal, was a woman unlike the others. Taller, her skin glowing faintly like moonlight over water, and a crown of flowing silver strands atop her head. The Queen. She studied him with calm curiosity. "Leo Grant of Earth," she said, his name foreign on her tongue but still delicate. "You are the first natural male to set foot on Lytheria in over 400 cycles." Leo opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. "That's great. Our world is imbalanced," she continued. "A virus long ago decimated our male population. We survived through cloning, gene pairing, artificial vectors. But our line weakens. Natural pairing is rare." She stood then, walking toward him with the grace of someone who never had to hurry. "And now, you appear a fertile, compatible male." "Look," Leo said, backing up slightly, hands raised. "I know this sounds weird, but I just need to repair my ship, maybe make a call to Earth, and you will remain," she said, with finality that left no space for argument. You are hereby assigned to the Genetic Compatibility Directive. He blinked. The what now? A soldier handed him a slim device. It blinked once, projected a list. Weekly pairing schedule, Day 1, Valka Day 2, Ziria Day 3, Naila Day 4, Sova Day 5, Viral Day 6, Alindra Day 7, Lyra. Leo stared at it. Is this a dating schedule? The queen tilted her head. You will be introduced to our finest warriors. Each represents a unique genetic template. You will spend one cycle with each. At the end of the week, we will assess viability. Viability, he echoed. You mean? Yes. The continuation of species. Leo sat down. Or rather, he collapsed into a chair he hadn't noticed behind him. The hall spun. Not from fear. Not exactly. More from the sheer, absurd magnitude of it all. He, Leo Grant, assistant engineer from a mid-tier orbital freight company, was now the only man on a planet full of warrior women. And his job? Apparently, to date them. Somewhere between a panic attack and stunned awe, he let out a laugh. It was dry. Hollow. My mom always said I was gonna be important one day. Guess this isn't what she meant. The queen smiled. Just slightly. Then turned away. Let the pairing begin. They gave him 10 minutes to prepare. Leo stood in the center of a sand-ringed arena carved into the rocky hillside. Above him, dozens of alien women lined the stone balconies, watching with silent intensity. The twin sons of Lytheria beat down on his skin. Sweat trickled down his spine. A breeze carried the metallic scent of ancient combat. He wore a loose tunic and light armor plating borrowed gear, not made for him. The guards hadn't explained much, only that today was his first trial and that his pairing would begin after a demonstration of compatibility. Whatever that meant. Then she walked in. Valka. The name was all he had seen on the list. But now, facing her in person, Leo understood why it came first. She moved like a living weapon, tall, flame-haired, muscles taut beneath her light exo-armor. Her skin shimmered bronze under the suns, and a long scar cut diagonally across her cheek like a badge of pride. She carried no shield. Just a long, curved blade that hissed faintly with energy. Her eyes locked onto him, not curious, not cruel. Focused. You're the male, she said flatly. Leo nodded. Still figuring out how I feel about that. Valka tilted her head. This is a challenge match. If you impress me, I'll consider the pairing. If not, I'll request another candidate. Leo raised his hands. Wait, hold on, challenge match? I thought we were just gonna talk first. Maybe share some fruit? Wine. Combat reveals truth, she said. Then lunged. He barely dodged. The blade whooshed past his ear, slicing through the air with a high-pitched hum. Leo stumbled backward, half rolling into the sand. He scrambled up, hands flailing. Okay. Okay. I get it. No small talk. Valka came at him again, not with killing intent but fast, testing. She swung low, then high. He ducked, blocked with his forearm, winced. The armor absorbed some of it, but not all. "You're not trained," she noted, circling him. "You noticed," he gasped. "Must be the flailing." Another rush. He dodged again, less clumsily this time. His boots kicked up dust. The crowd murmured approval? Amusement? It was hard to tell. He could feel dozens of alien eyes on him, evaluating. Valka pivoted, struck with the flat of her blade, sending him sprawling. He hit the ground hard, sand in his mouth. He spat, groaned, and turned over, panting. She walked up, blade still in hand. "Enough?" she asked. Leo looked up at her. The suns framed her silhouette, all fire and steel. A warrior goddess. And here he was awkward, exhausted, and absolutely out of his league. But something inside him flickered. He pushed himself to his knees. No. Not yet. He rose, limbs shaking. Picked up a short staff one of the guards had tossed into the ring earlier. No blade, no tricks. Just a stick. Valka's brow rose, just slightly. "I'm not a soldier," Leo said, voice hoarse. "But I don't give up. Not when something matters." She didn't answer. Just came again. This time, he moved differently. He wasn't trying to win. He was trying to last. To stand his ground. And maybe, just maybe, to earn a sliver of respect. They danced awkwardly, but earnestly. He blocked once, slipped twice, landed a clumsy tap to her leg. She grunted, then smiled. A real smile. Brief, but unmistakable. And then, it was over. She disarmed him in a single, elegant motion, kicked the staff from his hands, and stepped in close. Blade pressed gently to his collarbone. "You'll lose," she said. He swallowed. Wasn't expecting to win. Valka looked at him for a long moment. Then, she laughed. It wasn't cruel or mocking. It was a deep, surprised laugh, the kind that sounded like it hadn't been used in a long time. She lowered the blade. "You're brave. And dumb. But not boring. That's new." Leo sank to the sand with a relieved groan. "That's the nicest thing anyone said to me all day." She offered him a hand. He took it. The arena around them burst into cheers, some light, some sarcastic, but mostly amused. Maybe he hadn't won the fight, but he'd survived it. And apparently, that was step one in dating on Lytheria. As they walked out of the arena, Leo leaned over. "So, does this mean you're considering the pairing?" Valka smirked. "I might." Leo didn't know what to expect after Valka. A second duel? A weapons test? Maybe another beating wrapped in cultural misunderstanding? Instead, he was led into a chamber made entirely of glass and humming crystal. No blades. No sand. Just silence and symmetry. Zirael was already there, seated in a lotus position atop a floating platform. Her skin was a pearly silver blue, hairless, with glowing neural lines tracing along her scalp and down her elongated neck. 6 arms rested perfectly still on her lap. Her eyes were black completely. No whites, no irises. just endless reflection. She didn't look up when he entered. "Please sit." Her voice came not from her mouth but directly into his thoughts, smooth and deliberate. Leo hesitated, then lowered himself onto a smooth disc-shaped seat across from her. "No combat?" he asked, cautiously. "Conflict is inefficient," she replied. "Today we evaluate psychological resonance." Leo blinked. "Great. So, therapy." Zirea opened her eyes wider, just slightly. "We will discuss the biological utility of isolation, the evolution of longing, and the chemical echoes of unresolved desire." Leo laughed nervously. "Wow. First date material." "Begin," she said. And so they did. Zirea asked questions. Not about him directly but about the shape of his memories, the way he processed silence, the instinct to pair and the ache to be alone. She spoke of connection as both a genetic imperative and a distraction. Of intimacy as pattern recognition. Of touch as neurotransmission. Leo tried to keep up. He answered honestly when he could, deflected with humor when overwhelmed. But the truth was, Zirea's words, alien as they were, unsettled something deep. Because in between the sterile terminology and theoretical musings, she was describing things he had felt. The ache of being the last to leave a room. The weight of speaking and not being heard. The way even love, sometimes, could feel like being studied. He found himself silent more often than not. Just listening. "You are not what I expected," she said, finally. Leo raised an eyebrow. "Because I'm not drooling or running away." "Because you do not lie. Most species lie to themselves before lying to others. You hesitate instead." He tilted his head. "That's either really deep, or just sad." Zirea stood, floating down from her platform with elegant weightlessness. Her 6 arms unfolded slowly, symmetrically, like petals in time-lapse. She walked to him. "I wish to conclude with contact." Leo blinked. "Contact? Like a handshake? An embrace?" "Physical empathy is a concluding gesture in my studies." He stood, awkwardly. "Right. Sure. Hugs are cool." Then she wrapped all 6 arms around him. It wasn't painful. Wasn't crushing. Just overwhelming. Warm. Unavoidable. A blanket of limbs and soft breath and stillness. And Leo froze. Because he hadn't been held like that in a long time. Not since before space, before missions, before isolation. He realized how much of himself had learned to exist without touch. "You are afraid of stillness," she murmured, near his ear. He laughed softly. "No, I just don't know what to do with it." She stayed like that for several seconds longer. Then released him. Her 6 hands hovered in the air briefly, then folded back behind her. Trial concluded. Leo exhaled. He didn't know what he had expected. But it wasn't this. As he left the chamber, he felt lighter. But not in the way you do after a victory. More like he'd set something down that had been hidden in his hands for too long. Maybe that was what Zirea meant by resonance. He didn't understand her. Not fully. But maybe that was the point. The room looked like a cathedral of wires. Dark walls pulsed with soft light, veins of circuitry crawling through obsidian panels like growing roots. Holograms shifted silently in the air, data, language, emotion rendered as light. In the center stood a single platform surrounded by floating nodes, each spinning with soft hums of power. And there she was. Nayla. She didn't greet him. Didn't look up. Just stood with her back turned, long black hair falling down the sleek lines of her dark bodysuit. Her hands moved through invisible layers of code, weaving connections in the air like a spider in thought. Leo stepped forward cautiously. So, is this the part where we sit down and talk about our feelings? Her voice came, clipped, and emotionless. Sit. The connection begins shortly. A chair unfolded from the platform behind him, its surface glowing faintly. Leo hesitated, then sat. She finally turned. Her eyes were entirely black like Ziraya's, but colder somehow. Not searching. Just scanning. Calculating. She walked to him, placed a thin neural band around his head, then slid one over her own. Hive link synchronization, she said. Shared mind. Temporary overlay. Goal, emotional parity. Leo shifted in the seat. Wait, so, you're uploading my brain? Joining, she corrected. We will experience each other without filter. Full mental transparency. He blinked. No pressure. And then connection. It wasn't like dreaming. It wasn't like falling. It was like suddenly remembering every thought you hadn't had yet. Her presence flooded his mind, cold, elegant, ordered. He saw flashes of her life, rows of code, silence, structure. Every feeling was tagged, catalogued, time-stamped. And she saw him. The chaos of his memories. Color and sound. A messy apartment. His mother's hands making coffee. A lonely cargo ship drifting. The quiet pain of being replaceable. Nayla didn't speak. She didn't need to. He felt her judgment. Her curiosity. Her confusion. He tried to pull back. She resisted. Why do you divide love from function? Her thought asked. Because love isn't efficient, he replied silently. And it wasn't. Love was messy. Complicated. Irrational. It wasn't something you could map like network traffic. But she kept digging. Kept pulling him toward her logic tree of emotions, trying to make him fit. Her presence wrapped around his like an algorithm, closing loops, sealing gaps, patching flaws. He pushed again. Harder this time. The platform flickered. Data spasmed. Their sync rate dropped. Disengaging, he said aloud. She looked up, surprised. I said disengaging. He ripped the neural band off his head. The rush of disconnection hit like stepping out of cold water into open air. He staggered to his feet, breath sharp. Nayla stood motionless. You rejected full integration, she said. Leo met her eyes. I don't want to fall in love with a projection. I want someone real. Someone who chooses me. Not someone who downloads me. There was a long silence. She stared at him, unreadable. Then, just faintly, a small tilt of the head. Your mind lacks structure. Your emotional logic is flawed. Thanks, Leo said, exhaling. I get that a lot. Another pause. But you resisted me. Few do. There was no praise in her voice. Just fact. Like data entered into a system log. I don't know what you're looking for, he said, more softly now. But I hope one day you find it outside the code. He turned and left the cathedral of wires, his footsteps echoing into silence. And though Nayla said nothing, she remained still for a long time, staring at the neural band in her hand. Her sync rate had dropped. But her curiosity had risen. The meeting place was different. Not a chamber. Not an arena. Just a hillside garden at dusk, where bioluminescent plants curled lazily over warm stone paths, and the air smelled faintly of rain. Leo had been led there without explanation. No neural bands. No weapons. No tests. She was already waiting. Lyra. She sat on a curved bench beneath a tall, glowing tree whose branches shimmered with pale blue leaves. Her coat was white, edged with silver, and though her boots suggested field work, she moved with quiet care like someone who had spent her life tending wounds, not inflicting them. She looked up when she heard him, then stood. "You're Leo," she said softly. Her voice didn't echo. It didn't command. It simply was. He nodded, slower than usual. "That's what they tell me." Lyra didn't approach. She didn't scan him, measure him, or quote compatibility algorithms. She just gestured to the bench. "Would you like to sit?" He did. They sat in silence for a moment. Not the awkward kind, just unfilled. Like a breath held in peace. "I didn't volunteer for this," she said after a while. Leo glanced at her. "Neither did I." She smiled faintly. "But you're here." He shrugged. "So are you." The tree above them hummed quietly, a living lamp in the evening air. Crickets or something like them sang somewhere deeper in the garden. Leo exhaled slowly, letting his shoulders fall. "What's your role here?" he asked. "Medical logistics. Wound care. Structural synthesis. I meant things." He looked at her hands, long fingers, steady palms, faint green light under the skin. "You heal people." "Sometimes," she said. "When they want to be healed." Another silence passed. This time, deeper. Weighted with a kind of honesty that didn't need to be spoken. "They told me I'd be spending the evening with another warrior," Leo said. "A trial." Lyra nodded. "I suppose I am a kind of warrior. Just not the kind who draws blades." He smiled. "Good. I'm all bruised out." She laughed. Just a soft one, but real. He liked the sound of it. "You seem tired," she said. "I am." He looked at the sky, 2 moons rising in tandem, clouds curling around them like smoke. "It's strange," he added. "All this attention. All these expectations. I've never been this important. Never been wanted for what I am." "You mean, for your biology?" "Yeah. That." She turned slightly toward him. Do you feel used? He hesitated. Then nodded. I think everyone wants something from me. Not me, really. Just potential. Lyra looked down at her hands. I know that feeling. He studied her. You? But you're capable, useful, always reliable. He didn't answer. She did. I've been a support system for others so long, sometimes I forget what it's like to be seen just for existing. Not for fixing. The words settled between them like soft earth. Leo leaned back, elbows on the bench, watching the stars begin to appear. Do you miss Earth? She asked. He blinked. That question wasn't on any of the lists. No one else had asked it. Yeah, he said. Every day. Not because it was perfect. Just because it was mine. Lyra nodded. I miss things, too. Even if I never had them. She wasn't looking at him now. Just at the horizon, where the garden met the sky. He turned slightly. Looked at her face in the half-light. I'm glad it was you tonight, he said. She finally met his eyes. There was something quiet there. Something unspoken but not uncertain. Me too. They didn't touch. Not yet. But they didn't need to. Because for the first time since he crashed on Lytheria, Leo felt like someone had actually seen him. And for the first time, he didn't want the moment to end. The unrest started quietly. Whispers in the barracks. Pauses during drills. Glances exchanged in silence. It wasn't about war or strategy. It was about him. Leo had been on Lytheria for only a few days, but the ripples of his presence were spreading. Not just because he was male. Not just because he was the last potential hope for their long-decaying bloodlines. But because something in him unsettled the structure. He questioned things. He said no when no one else did. He laughed in the face of control and somehow, people listened. The rebellion began with a circle of warriors who had completed their pairings, some intrigued, some confused, all changed. They met under cover of night, not to plan an attack, but to demand freedom. Not for themselves but for him. He should choose, one of them said. Not be assigned. He is not a tool. He is a person. The last sentence fell heavy. It was not treason. But it was dangerous. The movement grew. And with it, the fear. On the 6th morning, Leo disappeared. Lyra found out first. She arrived at his quarters with a small bag of fruit and a question on her lips, only to find the guards confused, the bed untouched. She moved fast. Within hours, Valka had joined her. And Ziraot. All three from different corners of their world, united not by duty, but by something unspoken. They tracked his signal to a desert plateau outside the city spires. There, beneath a broken tower once used for stellar beacons, they found the rebels. A group of warriors, strong, armored, and frightened. Not by Leo, but by what he represented. They had taken him gently, without force. But they had taken him all the same. He sat at the center of their circle, unbound but cornered, speaking calmly. trying to understand. "I'm not mad," he told them. "I just don't want to be a symbol." One of the rebels stepped forward. "You changed us. We don't want to go back." "But the Queen, she won't allow this." Leo sighed. "Maybe she needs to change too." The air shifted. From the shadows, Lyra stepped out first. She didn't draw a weapon. She didn't shout. She just walked to Leo, eyes fixed on his. He stood without a word and stepped into her arms. It wasn't romantic. Not yet. It was human. Valka emerged next, blade drawn but lowered. Ziraoth floated behind, silent but watchful. "We're not here to punish," Valka said. "Only to bring him back." One of the rebels spoke up. "Back to what?" Ziraoth tilted her head. "Perhaps to something new." The tension broke not with a fight, but with choice. Leo stepped forward, not toward either side, but between them. "I won't run," he said. "But I won't be passed around either. If you want my help, ask. If you want my heart, earn it." Lyra stood beside him. Valka too. Then, slowly, some of the rebels lowered their weapons. It wasn't a victory. It was an agreement. That night, Leo returned to the city walking, not escorted. No shackles. No handlers. The Queen watched from her high tower, expression unreadable. But something in her shifted. The pairing schedule was dissolved the next morning. And Leo finally slept without guards at his door. Not because he was safe, but because, for the first time, he was free. The Hall of Concordance was quiet. It wasn't the silence of emptiness but of judgment. Leo stood alone at the center of the chamber, a circular room lined with radiant stone and ancient holograms flickering softly above each seat. The High Council of Lytheria sat in solemn formation, each figure poised in ceremonial garb, their expressions unreadable. He had rehearsed this moment in his mind, but now, every word felt heavier. No one told him what to say. That was the point. He stepped forward, voice even. "I understand your traditions. I respect your survival. But I have to say this clearly." A pause. A breath. "I am not a breeding mechanism." A ripple moved through the chamber. "I am not an equation. Not a calculation of genetic worth. I am a person. I have memories, choices, flaws. I laugh. I cry. I fear things, and I hope for others. I am human." His voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. "I came here by accident. But I stayed because I found something real. Not an order. Not a schedule. A person. Her name is Lyra." He let that name settle. "If I have any say at all in what happens to me on this planet, if you value me as more than a resource, then hear this. I choose her. Not for duty. Not for biology. For love." Silence, again. Then movement. The Queen of Lytheria stood. Her eyes were cool, ancient, but not unkind. "You disrupt the balance," she said softly. But perhaps the balance needed disruption. She turned to the council. Murmurs rose. debate without words. After a long moment, a decision. The queen faced him once more. We will no longer enforce pairings. The directive is dissolved. From this day forward, consent shall guide all connection. Even yours. Leo let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. Lyra entered the chamber behind him. She hadn't been summoned. But no one stopped her. She walked to his side with quiet certainty. He didn't take her hand. She didn't offer it. They just stood there. Together. Later that evening, he stood at the balcony of their new dwelling modest, overlooking the western gardens. The twin moons were rising again. He watched them, wondering if Earth's moon missed him. Lyra brought him tea. Not alien. Not replicated. Just tea. They sat in silence for a while, until she asked, "Do you regret anything?" He smiled. "Only that I didn't get here sooner." She leaned on his shoulder. "There's time now." He nodded. Still, mornings were interesting. Each sunrise seemed to bring a different visitor. Sometimes Valka offering a sparring session that accidentally lasted too long. Sometimes Zirea delivering philosophical musings paired with strangely shaped fruit. Even Nayla appeared once, handing him a list of emotionally coded jokes. "For study," she said. Leo didn't mind. He had chosen. And somehow, that made all the difference. Not just to him, but to them. The garden was quiet that morning. Birds, real or engineered, he wasn't sure, sang softly in the warm breeze. Twin moons hung pale against the sky, retreating from the coming Sunday. Dew clung to the curved leaves of bioluminescent plants. And Leo held a child in his arms. She was small. Half human, half Lytherian. Skin like soft pearl, eyes shifting shades of green and silver, and a pulse that beat in a rhythm he didn't understand but loved all the same. Lyra sat nearby, watching them both with tired eyes and a calm smile. Her hair was loose, her body still recovering. But she looked more at peace than he'd ever seen her. He rocked the child gently, not knowing a single earth lullaby that would make sense on this world. So he hummed something shapeless. Wordless. Just breath and presence. Time passed slowly now. The chaos was gone. No schedules. No expectations. No more lists. Just life. Word had spread faster than he liked. Within days of the birth, others came to visit. Not out of duty, or hierarchy, or command, but out of warmth. Curiosity. Care. Valka brought a blade made from starlight and placed it silently by the crib. "She'll need it one day," she said. Zirea left behind a glowing seed, encoded with knowledge. For when questions rise. Even Nayla arrived, awkward and wordless, placing a data crystal wrapped in a simple ribbon beside Lyra's bed. No one demanded anything. No one asked to be next. But later, gently, some did ask. "Could I, someday, carry a child of two worlds?" one warrior whispered. "Not because of law," another added. "Because of what I feel. Because of who he is." And Leo realized then that something had changed, not just in their rules, or customs, or systems, but in their hearts. He had become a symbol. Not of dominance, not of ownership, but of something harder to define. The freedom to choose, and to be chosen. He didn't seek it, but he didn't run from it either. One evening, sitting with Lyra under the glowing trees, he asked quietly, "Is this strange for you?" She smiled, eyes closed, resting her head on his shoulder. "It's not strange. It's ours." The child cooed in her sleep. Eventually, the queen invited Leo to speak. Not to a council but to the people. He stood before a field of faces: warriors, thinkers, builders, caretakers. So many lives built from tradition, now willing to build something new. He didn't speak long. Just enough. "I came here by accident," he said. "And all I wanted was to fix my ship and go home." He looked down at the child in his arms. "But I found something here worth staying for." And they understood. In time, stories would be told of the Earthborn Father, the first bridge between species, the one who came from the stars not with fire, but with feeling. Children were born, not many, not all at once, but slowly, naturally, with laughter, with songs from two worlds. And in every name given, there was a piece of choice. Leo never wore a crown, never led an army, never claimed a title. But people still called him something, half in jest, half in reverence. The man of the heart. The father of two worlds. He just called himself Leo. And one morning, walking through the garden, holding his daughter close, watching her blink at the morning sun, he whispered to her, "I just wanted to fix my ship." He smiled. "Now I'm the dad of a galaxy?"